Cuba's political, economic, social and humanitarian crisis in 2026, and Trump's threats toward Cuba introduction, 0 to 050. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about one of the most isolated and politically sensitive countries in the world, Cuba. A country that has lived under American sanctions for decades is now facing one of the worst crises in its modern history. In 2026, Cuba is struggling with economic collapse, electricity shortages, food scarcity, rising public anger, and increasing international pressure. At the same time, former U.S. President Donald Trump has returned with a much tougher policy toward Cuba, making strong statements and threats against the Cuban government. So in this video we will explore what is happening inside Cuba right now. Why are Cuban people suffering? What are Trump's threats about? And could tensions between the United States and Cuba become even more dangerous? Let's begin. Part 1. Cuba's economic crisis, 050 to 3 o'clock. Cuba's economy is currently in one of the worst conditions in decades. For many years, Cuba depended heavily on cheap oil from Venezuela. But after political changes and growing U.S. pressure, oil shipments to Cuba sharply decreased. The Trump administration has also threatened countries and companies that help supply fuel to Cuba. As a result, power plants are failing, nationwide blackouts are becoming common, transportation systems are struggling, and industrial production has fallen dramatically. In some parts of the country, people live without electricity for many hours every day. Food prices have increased sharply. Medicine is difficult to find. And salaries remain extremely low. Tourism, one of Cuba's biggest sources of income, has also suffered because of sanctions and economic instability. Many young Cubans now want to leave the country in search of a better future. Experts say the Cuban economy is now operating in survival mode. Part 2. The political situation, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Politically, Cuba remains a socialist one-party state. President Miguel Díaz-Canel and the Communist Party continue to control the country's political system. However, public frustration has been growing for years. Large anti-government protests first shocked the country in 2021, and dissatisfaction continues today. In recent months, new demonstrations have taken place because of power outages, food shortages, inflation, and the declining quality of life. The Cuban government says the main cause of the crisis is the U.S. embargo and economic sanctions. But critics argue that Cuba's outdated economic system and weak management are also responsible for the country's problems. Despite the pressure, the government has shown little willingness to introduce major political reforms. Part 3. Social and humanitarian conditions, 5 o'clock to 6:40. The social situation in Cuba has become extremely difficult. In many areas, people wait in long lines for bread and basic food, electricity cuts happen regularly, water shortages are increasing, and hospitals face serious shortages of medicine and medical supplies. The United Nations has warned that fuel restrictions and economic pressure could create a serious humanitarian crisis. Many Cuban families now survive mainly because relatives living abroad send money back home. Meanwhile, migration from Cuba to the United States and other countries has increased significantly. Some experts fear that if conditions continue to worsen, Cuba could face a full-scale humanitarian emergency. Part 4. Trump's threats against Cuba, 6:40 to 8:40. One of the most dangerous developments is Donald Trump's renewed hardline approach toward Cuba. Trump has repeatedly stated that the Cuban government must eventually change. His administration introduced tougher sanctions and increased pressure on businesses connected to the Cuban state. Some of Trump's statements have even sounded similar to threats of possible intervention. He has claimed that regime change in Cuba is only a matter of time. Although there is currently no official plan for military action, political tensions between Washington and Havana have clearly increased. Reports also suggest that U.S. surveillance and political pressure in the region have intensified. The Cuban government strongly rejected Trump's statements and declared that Cuba will never surrender its independence. For many Cubans, the fear now is that economic suffering could become even worse if tensions continue to rise. Part 5. What happens next? 8:40 to 10 o'clock, today, Cuba stands at a historic crossroads. On one side, *US sanctions, *economic collapse, *energy shortages, and political pressure are weakening the country. On the other side, the Cuban leadership refuses to abandon its political system. Some analysts believe Cuba may eventually be forced to introduce major economic reforms. Others fear that tensions between the United States and Cuba could escalate into a far more serious confrontation. For now, the entire world is watching closely. Will Cuba recover from this crisis? Or is the country entering a new era of instability and conflict? Only time will tell. Outro. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share your opinion in the comments. What do you think about the future of Cuba? See you in the next video.